this. I know everybody's got busy lives. And on the call with me, it's going to be Mark Schroll and Elliot Mork, and they are the ringleaders of the innovation portal that everybody should have registered on by now. It's going to be the program that students are going to use as well as judges. That students will use that to submit portfolios. We will assign portfolios to judges based on the category preference that you provided to me. And then you guys will use the innovation portal to actually do your scoring and submit it back. So it's all done through this innovation portal, and that's why we wanted to do a training session with everybody. So Mark and Elliot are both on the phone, and they're going to lead the training portion of it. If you have questions during the training, there's a little chat option on the side of your screen that you can throw questions up there, and we will be monitoring that throughout the training and answer those questions either via the chat or live on the training session. And then once the training is done, if you have questions about anything, please feel free to email me. That's what I'm here for. I monitor the email account all day long, so don't feel like you're bugging me or don't feel like you can't ask questions. I'm here to help. And if I can't find an answer, if I don't have an answer for you, I will get to Elliot and or Mark and we'll get an answer for you. So I'm going to turn it over to them. Just ask one last thing, that if you have a mute option on your phone, if you could go ahead and put that on mute. I know many people multitask during this, so that way we can reduce the background noise and feedback that we get. So I'll turn it over to Elliot and Mark at this point.
Thank you, Dawn. This is Elliot. You'll be hearing my voice as well as Mark's today. My partner Mark will be working with me to show you the innovation portal today. Just to reiterate what Dawn said about mute, I'm actually going to go ahead and right now I just muted everybody on the call. If you'd like to be unmute for any reason, you should be able to toggle that yourself, but to cut down on some background noise and sometimes echo, I went ahead and muted everyone so I don't hear myself talking. The first thing I want to do is say thank you for your time. I know everyone's busy. Just Dawn said, we really appreciate what you do for these students to evaluate the portfolios they have. It wouldn't be possible without you. So I want to make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. Nope, can't. Went to the wrong screen. All right, can't make it bigger, but let me see, just so I can blow this up a little bit. All right, to give you a little bit overview of what we're going to be covering today, we have 8 different steps to give you as judges to get you on the system and give you instructions on how to actually evaluate these portfolios that students are putting together. To give you an analogy for what we're doing in broad context, this is very similar to a science fair. It's just that instead of going into a gymnasium and in person grading something physically, we're doing that all virtually. But it's exactly the same. You're coming in as a judge and evaluating some student work that they've done, and then giving it to the competition administrator, who in this case is Dawn. The first 2 steps that we're covering today, you have hopefully already done. The first one is to make sure your browser, your internet browser, is up to date, because the innovation portal does run through an internet browser. You can do that by visiting whatismybrowser.com, and it'll make sure you have the most recent update for your browser, whether that is Internet Explorer, Firefox, Chrome, or many others. The second step is to create an innovation portal account and getting it connected to the competition. And I believe most of you have been in communication with Dawn to get you connected into the innovation portal. Then we're going to talk about an overview of how the online system works, how the innovation portal runs, how the students interact with it, and then how you will interact with it as a judge. I'm going to show you how to access portfolios that Dawn will be assigning to you, and then the rubric that you'll be utilizing to score portfolios that students have submitted. We're going to give you several different ways to access the rubric, and then a lot of other resources that as a judge you might need to assign scores to different parts of it. The last step that you will have is to submit your scores to Dawn, Elise, and Carrie, who are the competition administrators for the Conrad competition, and then all the judging is going to be due January 31st. At a couple different points during the presentation, we will pause for questions. We can take them live on audio, or if you want to type them out into the chat window as you think of them, we'll pause and revisit those questions at a couple times during the training. The first thing I wanted to do is give you the steps of how judges are going to get connected into the Innovation Portal. The first step is to create an Innovation Portal account. All Innovation Portal accounts are the same. There are no special accounts for judges or students or anyone that interfaces on the Innovation Portal. It's all the same account. So you just create one using an email address. Dawn will need to know what email address that you used to register in the Innovation Portal, and you can send that information to her at her email address at info@conradawards.org. And then she will actually push an invitation to you using the Innovation Portal to invite you to be part of the Conrad competition. That is going to be an email link that you'll need to verify that you accept the invitation. Once you accept the invitation, you are in the bucket of the Conrad competition. There's 4 different Conrad competitions, and you'll be assigned to your specific competition, and Dawn will be sending out that link. The Innovation Portal works and manages competitions and portfolios. Students right now are registering, they have registered on the Innovation Portal and are working on their portfolios. So students over here are working on portfolios, and student teams are working either as individuals or groups, or however many number of them. They can all work on a portfolio, and they register the same as you do. They're working right now, and they have until the 19th of January to submit a portfolio to the competition, which exists here with Dawn. Dawn is the competition coordinator, and you are connected as a judge. All those different portfolios, Dawn will have one big bucket of portfolios. Then Dawn will take those portfolios and say, I have this many judges, and I want each judge to evaluate between 3 and 5 portfolios. Then the Innovation Portal will use an algorithm to assign those portfolios to each individual judge. You will not have to evaluate the same portfolio twice, and you will get between 3 and 5 portfolios to evaluate. So those portfolios get sent to you, and you have your own review bucket. And again, that's going to be between 3 and 5. So these are all the judges on the right. They have copies of the portfolios that the students have submitted to the competition. You will have a period of review time, so you will get those portfolios either January 20th or 21st, sometime in there, depending on what it takes to put those together, because the students are submitting on the 19th. You'll get those on the 20th. Then you have a period of review until the 31st. Then what you need to do is review those and then send the scores back to Dawn as a competition administrator. So that's the process and how you fit into the picture between students working on portfolios and Dawn as the competition administrator. So students, or any account actually, student accounts can create a portfolio. You could create a portfolio in the Innovation Portal with your judge account. Those students can invite any number of project partners to work on that same portfolio. So in this case, the student has created this portfolio and then has 2 project partners. They can also invite collaborators that are teachers or viewers that are teachers to actually look at the work that they are putting into the portfolio. They also have the opportunity to invite project mentors, engineers, or people that have helped them put together their portfolio and the information in their portfolio. They then take that portfolio at whatever stage they feel like it's complete. They can package that up and send it to a competition. They can send it to multiple competitions, the Conrad competition being one, and then other ones if they choose to. And then each competition can have multiple portfolios submitted during that process. And then in just a moment, we're going to pause and take some questions after this next slide. So if you have anything, you can put them in the chat window there. At the end of this training, we're going to send you a few things. One is the recording of this session of GoToMeeting. So you'll get a YouTube link with everything that's being displayed on screen. You will also get a file that is a PDF of the step-by-step guide for judges. And what that document does is give you a visual reference for how to actually get into the Innovation Portal, connect it to your competition, and find the portfolios that have been assigned to you. You're also going to get some reflective questions from the portfolio. We'll go further into depth about what these reflective questions are, but they give you a checklist for how to actually evaluate each element within the innovation portal and the portfolio. You will receive the complete EDPPSR rubric, which is a common rubric for evaluating the engineering design cycle and work that students submit to showcase their steps through the design cycle. That is crucial and integrated into the innovation portal, and you can see the interface. You can see it integrated into the interface, but this is a separate file in case you would like to print it out or if you'd like it to display on another screen while you're actually scoring. So at this point, I want to stop, address any questions that we have. I will go ahead and unmute everybody and address any questions. All right, if there are no questions, we'll keep moving forward. So this is the innovation portal. The screen that you will see when you first come to it is this screen here. What you can do to get into the system is click this login button here. You'll need to enter your username or your email in this box, and then your password into this box. Now, when you log in, we mentioned before how every account on the innovation portal is the same type of account. So the innovation portal assumes when you log in that you would like to create a portfolio. We have a navigation window on our left-hand side, and we have started in My Portfolios because that's what the innovation portal really does, is you create portfolios in it. As judges, you're going to want to do a different function at first. So you'll want to go down to this this button, Opportunities. We chose the name Opportunities specifically instead of competitions because there are other things in here besides competitions. We've had people run internship programs and other opportunities that aren't really competition. So it does say Opportunities. When we select that, we'll be able to see all the different competitions that are currently hosted right now and live on the innovation portal. So the top row we see here are the Conrad Spirit of Innovation Challenges, the 4 different categories. We also have several other competitions occurring right now. These are all the active ones. When you're coming in here to review portfolios, you will actually need to not look at a current portfolio, but you'll need to look at a past portfolio. Up here, we are currently filtering by current portfolios and current opportunities and past opportunities. We'll need to go into this past button. Right now, students are working on the Conrad competition. They're working on their portfolios to submit to it. Once they submit and you have access to review, we'll need to go into a past because the deadline will have already occurred. So we'll need to go into past. On this past button, the Conrad competitions will move here. They'll move here after the submission deadline, which is January 19th. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to imagine that this training example competition is one of the Conrad ones, and we're going to use this as an example. But when you come in here to evaluate, you will actually be selecting a Conrad competition. So if we select this competition in here, we can verify that we are a judge for this competition because we have this blue bar up here on the top. We see a button that says View, and we see a button that says Review. I'm a judge for this training example competition. I am not a judge for another one that we can go into to show you the difference. If we go to Opportunities, go to Past, I am not a judge for the Kansas City Engineering Design Competition, and I do not have that Review tab up on the top. This is one way that you can verify that you have accepted the invitation to be a judge for the competition to see if you have that Review button. So if we go back to Opportunities, and then go to Past, we can find the training example, which you will be finding the 2016 Conrad category. So on this link, we can see all the information about the competition. when the dates that the students see when registration and submission opens and closes, and all the specific information here. There's not much on this training example because there's not much to explain. It's just a training example. But if you click reviews up here, we can go in and see all of the portfolios that you've been assigned to review and score. In this case, I have completed 2 reviews, which you can see right here, out of 11 that have been assigned to me. So this completed reviews gives you a good status indicator for where you are in the judging process. Each one of these blue boxes are a portfolio that I have been assigned to review. The first one, Lawn Mower Kickstarter, is already complete. I've already submitted this course for that one in a previous training. I've already completed the cracked iPhone screen as well. That's complete, and we did that in a previous training as well. I'm going to go into the first one where it says active because that's one I can currently score. So I'm going to go into this one and start a review. And this is probably a good point to pause as well to see if we have any questions on this. I'm going to unmute everyone and see if there's any questions.
Elliot, we did have one question in the chat session that we can bring into the audio for everybody. Mr. Campbell asked if this means that judges won't be able to start scoring until after the 19th, the due date.
That is correct. You will not have the opportunity to start scoring until after the students submit their portfolio to be scored. So that right now the students have a window of time that they are able to work on it, and then once they say I'm done and the submission window ends on the 19th, Dawn will get those, and then she will send those out to judges. And you should get an alert from Dawn that says you have some to review, and that sometime on the 20th or the 21st is what we've discussed. Are there any further questions? All right, I'm going to go ahead and put everyone back on mute. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One question just came up just as you muted everyone. It's in the chat window. The question is, should we see the review option on the training example if we are registered as a judge? And I'll answer that. The answer is no, not on the training example. The only one you'll see the review option on is the competition for which you accepted the invite. So it would only be one of the 4 Conrad competitions. So if you have agreed to be a judge for health and nutrition, you can go to that, even though it's in the current, it's filtered as a current, you can go there now and do as Elliot described earlier and verify that that review button is there for your competition, even though when you click the button, there'll be no portfolios in it yet for you to review.
Perfect. Good question. All right, I'm going to turn mute back on and continue. The innovation portal was built on the structure of the rubric, and it was built to mimic a 3-ring binder. This screen that we're looking at right now is a good corollary to the plastic insert on the top of a 3-ring binder as a cover page. On the right-hand side, we can see the navigation options that we have, or the tabs that are coming out of the 3-ring binder. Right now, the highlighted section is the portfolio cover page, and that's what we are currently viewing here in this white space. We have the check engine light portfolio. I have a little mouse wheel, and I'm scrolling down, and we can see more content here. We have a picture, we have some blurred, redacted pictures of students, and this is what they've chosen to include as their cover page. If we open up the 3-ring binder and go to the first note, the first tab in our notebook, it's A, element A, which is the presentation and justification of the problem. Each of these elements, A through N, correspond to stages of the design cycle, the engineering design cycle, that students have documented what they've done for that stage of the design cycle to actually go through it during their portfolio design. So if we go open our tab and we go to element A, we can see the first page of the student's portfolio. And again, I have a scroll. I can either use a scroll wheel to go down, or I can go on the far right side of my web browser and scroll down to see all of the content the student has put in here to address element A, justification of the problem. But if we go back up, what I want to do is look more at element A. We have a few things over here to help. We have a tool case or a toolbox as judges to be able to evaluate the content students have put in here and score the content. The first thing is we have a rubric. So we have a scores ranging from 0 to 5 that we are able to look at some text underneath to read a description or rubric of what 5 is. As a note, this rubric was developed with an NSF grant with a lot of researchers, a lot of best practices with engineering educators, and this is what they've come up with as the best way to score engineering design cycle. This is language that has been worked on for years through dozens of people to come to this conclusion in this language to help you as a judge. So if I click 5, I can read what does a 5 look like, or what's the definition of a 5. If I click 4, it will change to be language that corresponds to what a score of 4 would get for this element, how we'd score it. That ranges from 0 all the way to 5, all the language that's embedded into the innovation portal. And we also have a few tools to help us out. I'm sorry, going back a little bit, 0 through 5. The scores must be integers from 0 to 5, so it must be either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's somewhat like a staircase. So if I start on 5, you can step down to 4, you can step down to 3, and you can step down to 2. A staircase of descending. A good rubric design, each step of your rubric will be equally spaced. It is not. It is a rubric of best fit, and so if you believe the content within this element deserves a 2 or deserves a 3 and you're not quite sure, a 2 or a 3 and you're not quite sure, you think it fits somewhere in the middle, ask yourself the question, is it more like a 2 or more like a 3, and then assign that score. That is different from the content that is within this page on the portfolio. It does not have to meet all requirements of a 3 to actually get a score of 3. If it's closer to a 3 than a 2, it would receive a 3. But it's not discrete at the point of a 2, so it's the best fit. So when we're making those really hard decisions on the staircase of the scoring rubric, we have a few tools to help guide us as judges. The first one are these reflective questions. You can think of these reflective questions as a checklist of things the student should offer you, the judge, to prove that they have met requirements of this element in the rubric to receive a high score. So you have a few questions that you can ask yourself. Did the students provide me this? Then that is one tool that you have to help during the score to decide what score to assign. You also have another tool down here is a scored element example. I'm about to click this link. As I click this link, watch the upper left-hand part of my screen. When I click it, I'm opening up a new file. I have not moved away, and I still have the student portfolio open if I click this tab back over here. And I can still go back. I can look at this element rubric. I can see the scores. I can see the questions. Everything is still there. But if I go back to the tab that was just opened up, it's a new tab. This is the result of dozens of people over time evaluating different projects within the innovation portal and coming up with a common agreed upon baseline score for one element that satisfied for one student work that satisfied this element. This one is a score of 2. You have, first on the top here, you have text from dozens of people, groups that have come together to explain why this example has been scored a 2. So you have the thinking of those people to help guide your guide and create your baseline for what A2 is. We have what element that this corresponds to, the score, highlighted the score within the rubric again, and then you have the actual student work within the innovation portal. What this gives you is a baseline to understand exactly what a large group of people that are experts in rubric and evaluation have decided to score as A2, as a baseline. So you have all this information provided by the student to establish that baseline. That is one tool that you have. So this has established what a 2 means. If we go back and look at A and we go to 3, and again look at the upper left-hand part of my screen, when I click this, it opens up another tab. So this is a whole nother one for element A with a project that received a score of 3. And if we scroll down, we can see the actual student work. This one has been scored a 3, slightly better than a 2, and you can compare and contrast the differences in them. There's even the commentary up at the top part. For this project, students were working on LED light signals. This is a problem that they were working on, apparently incandescent bulbs. Although inefficient, part of their inefficiency is that they give off heat, which is where the inefficiency comes from. And in the winter, they melt ice and snow off of the streetlights. When cities move to LED lights, they're more efficient and therefore give off less heat, and then have iced over and snowed over in the past. So that's the problem students were presenting and putting forward. And this is, again, the score of 3 that the students got. And once we look at that, we can go back and we can decide what score that the students will receive. And at this point, I want to stop and see if there's any questions about the rubric and the resources that you have as a judge when deciding what score to assign an element within the portfolio.
So we'll be scoring each of the tabs A through N individually, is that correct?
Great question. In most competitions, yes, but in your case with a Conrad, no. For the semifinal round, only elements A through, I believe, F will be scored. And actually, I can show you the actual score sheet that you have, which I'll go next. You have a button here to show that you, down here, that show you will be scoring this one. If we go to an element that you will not be scoring, like H, that button is not there. So it's already built in that you will only have access to score the elements that you should be scoring for this Conrad semifinal round. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put everyone back on mute and move on. So we discussed the rubric, the scores we can assign, and the tools that we can use as judges when evaluating the content students have submitted. The next step is to actually look at our score sheet and put that score down. So if we click this pin quill down in the bottom right, we can click that and it brings up our actual score sheet, or going back to the science fair analogy, this is our clipboard that we get to mark our scores on as we're walking around the room or evaluating the portfolios. So we have that same staircased rubric score over here, and if we decided this was a 3, because we looked at the example and decided this closely aligns to a 3 score, we can click that 3 and it assigns the value for this element. There's a plus sign right there as well. If we click that plus sign, it brings up the rubric again. And if we're deciding between a 3 and a 2, we can go back and forth and decide which one it most closely aligns with and read that text over again. And then if we click this X in the top right of this box, we can close that when we're done with it. So we've decided 3, but then if we decide we want to include some comments as a judge comment, we can include that down here. So we can write some text. This is some text about the student work. You can put whatever you want in this comment section, whether it's a justification of the score or comments about the work, anything you'd like to put there as a judge. Notice there's no save button. The innovation portal is constantly saving every couple microseconds. It saves automatically for you, and you don't need to click a save button at any time. And I see a question in the chat window. It looks very much like last year. Are there significant differences we should note from previous versions? It is very similar. One thing that is different from last year is the removal of the score sheet of elements you are not scoring. For the semifinal round, you are scoring A through F, and then the next round you'll be evaluating other elements. Last year, you could put a score on every element. This year, we removed that ability. So yes, it's very similar. So if we've assigned this 3 and we've put our comment in, if we'd like to complete the review, we can click Complete Review here. Now, this doesn't immediately just submit the scores. This is very much like shopping online at Amazon. You have a chance to look at your shopping cart and see what work you've done and before you make your final order. So far, we've only evaluated one of the elements, element A. We have this 3 here, and we can see that we have not submitted a score for B, C, D, E, or F. Now, in your case, you are going to have question marks for G, H, I, J, and going on. If we scroll down, we can see that there is a button here that says, I understand and wish to complete this review. If we click that and then click Complete Review, that's like putting our score sheet, a stamp on it, and then sending it off on the mail. We can't make any more changes. So once we click this button and then click that button, we cannot make any more changes to the review. While you're reviewing portfolios, if you'd like to make edits or you'd like to go back and evaluate different elements in different portfolios or review the first portfolio and then go back and revisit it after scoring other portfolios, don't submit and complete the review until you're very done and ready to submit the scores to Dawn. We saw that we didn't evaluate and score some of these elements, so we're actually going to go back. And to go back, you can just hit the back button here. Note that it did save our scores for A. We can go back to our score sheet and see that we have a score of 3, and we have some text that we wrote about this element. Now, if we wanted to go and evaluate B, we can do the same process and look at different scores, 0 through 5, and we have a different rubric, and we have different scored element examples, and we have different reflective questions that we can use as a checklist. To actually get to the score sheet, we can go back down here to the pin quill, and we can decide to give a score of 4. And again, we have the rubric here if we need to refine our opinion on the score here, and then close that. Then we can write another example, another comment. Oh, and mistyped. So we have our comment, we have our score, and then now we've decided that we're done scoring. We're completely done with the portfolio. We can close that. It's already saved. We can click Complete Review. The final step, and what needs to be complete before January 31st, is coming down here, putting the stamp on our review, and this is clicking the button that says you understand and wish to complete the review, and then click Complete Review. What that does is put the stamp on it and send it off, and then now we cannot make any more changes to that review. We still have access to look at our review. If we go on the left-hand side, if we look at My Reviews, we can see that this one is complete. The cracked iPhone screen, we completed that review. We can also verify going to Opportunities, back to our competition. We can click on Past, and then back to Training Example Competition, Reviews, and now we can see that we have completed 3 of 11 reviews, and it's complete. We can also scroll down and see that check engine light that review is complete. We still have several more active, but the one that we just sent in is complete. If we go into that one, we will not have the score sheet available on the bottom right anymore. Go into element A, and we don't have the score. We can't submit a score for this one anymore. We're now nearing the end, and I want to make sure that we have any questions answered that we may have developed. I'm going to go ahead and take everyone off mute. Any questions? Mark, is there anything you wanted to add?
Sorry, I was talking with mute on. That's always brilliant. No, I just wanted to, if you have our emails, again, everybody, you can email Dawn directly if you have any issues, if you have questions about the rubric, about the resources, or anything about the innovation portal. Elliot and I are here to help you, and these are our email addresses. If you don't capture them right now, if you send something directly to Dawn, she'll forward it to us, and we will respond. And Dawn, Elliot, and I are all here to support you, and we'll be monitoring everything throughout the entire competition. We are currently doing that with students as they start to submit their entries, and we'll be monitoring the process all the way through the judging cycle. So if there are any questions whatsoever that you didn't get a chance to ask today, no matter what they're about, please feel free to send them to us, and we'll respond as quickly as we can. Don, oh, thank you. I was just going to say, if you ask if you had any last instructions or advice for the judges.
No, just to kind of echo what you said. Again, thank you for taking the time to attend this training and to participate as a judge. And as Mark said, and I said earlier, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. That's what I'm here for. And I can get an answer for you. And as I said, if I can't answer it, I'll get an answer for you. So feel free to email me if you have any questions. As Elliot said earlier, the students have until the 19th to complete their portfolio, so you should see them in your area by like the 20th or 21st is our goal.
Mark, Don, and I can stay on the line if there are any further questions after we're done here. But thank you very much for being here, listening to the instructions on how to use the innovation portal. And with that, we can finish up this training. But Don, Mark, and I will stay on the line in case anyone has questions. Thank you.